Hi everybody, how are you today? I hope all of you are in excellent condition. Well, we are group 10. Well, now we will explain about adjective and adverb. But before we continue, let us introduce ourselves. My full name is Nilo Sutini and my friend Nilo Ari Artini. Well, without any further ado, let's check it. Alright, so let me take a look with the definition of adjective. An adjective is a word or set of words that modifies, for example, describe a noun or pronoun. Adjective may become before the word they modify. Well, let me take a look for the example. There is a cute puppy. And for the second example is she likes a high school senior. Well, now I would like to tell you about position of adjective. Many adjectives can use either before the noun they describe or following linking verbs such as appear, be, become, feel, get, and seem. For the example, the high price surprised him. For the second example, the price seemed high. While some adjectives are seldom or never used before the noun they describe. These include some adjectives performed by adding often to a noun or verb, such as afraid, alike, alive, alone, ashamed, asleep, awake, and aware. For the example, the horse was alone in the field. That's for the example. Well, some adjectives used to describe health and feeling, such as content, fine, glad, ill, and then sorry, unsure, upset, unwell, etc. These adjectives are sometimes used between adverb and noun. For the example, my son feels unwell. The second example, a terminally ill patient, like that. While many adjectives can use immediately after noun at the beginning of their just relative clauses. For example, it was a speech calculated to appeal to the audience. For the second example, he is manager of capable of taking difficult decisions. While some able or able adjectives such as available, imaginable, possible, suitable, etc. However, we can use this adjective immediately after a noun only when the noun follows the or when. The noun is made definite by what follows in the relative clauses. For the example, this was the most difficult decision imaginable. For the second example, it is a treat suitable for all children asthma. Alright, so let me move to kind of adjective. The first is emphasizing. Adjectives are used to emphasize your feeling about something, like complete, absolute, entire, mere, sheer, total, utter, etc. For the example, it was a total failure. Well, for the second one is classifying adjective. It is are used to say something is of a particular type. For the example, autonomic, chemical, digital, minimum, environment, medical, and then general, annual, maximum, minimum, etc. Classifying adjectives are seldom or never used after a linking verb. For the example, a nuclear explosion. While for the last one is qualitative adjectives are used to give a quality that a thing or person has. We use them either directly before a noun or after a linking verb. For the example, a beautiful sunset and a sunset was beautiful. Well, let me move to comparative phrases and clauses. We use as plus adjective or adverb plus as to say that something or someone is like something or someone else, or that one situation is like another. Well, for the example, was the film as funny as his last one? For the second example, I come round as quick as I could. While negative form of sentence like this can use either not as or not so. In formal speech and writing, it is more common to use less plus adjective plus than. Well, let's take a look for the example. The gap between the sides is not as wide as it was, or it's less wide than it was. We use a not plus adjective or adverb plus enough plus to infinitive to mean that there isn't as much necessary to do something. For the example, I'm not tall enough to reach. And for the second example, he didn't speak loudly enough to be heard. Well, let me move. We usually add er to one syllable adjective and adverb to make their comparative form. However, we use more plus adjective with one syllable past participle adjective, such as bored, crates, plates, warm. After I ignore my shirt, it looks more crazyable than before. Well, it's not used crazier, it used crazy. We can sometimes use more as an alternative to the er form to emphasize the comparison. For the example, you may think it's dark here, but it is more dark in the cellar, or darker in the cellar. Other adjectives used like this include clear, cool, fair, rogue, soft, true, and etc. Some adjectives with two syllables are mostly commonly used with more or less. For the example, the first movie is more attractive than other. Alright, so let me talk about superlative. Adjective and adverb consist of one syllables are added est. There is usually a double consonant letter at the end of the word in pattern-based shift. For the example, cool, it will be coolest, and then rich, it will be richest, and then tall, it will be tallest. Adjective derived from past participle usually used most in front of the adjective. For the example of superlative degrees, the first is bored, it will be most bored, and then the second one tired, it will be most tired. Well, adjective and adverb are more than one syllables added most in front of it. For the example of superlative adjective, the first is careful, it will be most careful, and the second one is difficult, it will be most difficult.
Alright, so thank you so much for the time that given to me. My name is Nilo Haryartini, and now I will explain about adverbs. The first is definition. An adverb is a word that used to change or modify or qualify several types of words, including an adjective, a verb, a clause, another adverb, or any other type of word or phrase. Specifically, adverbs provide a description of how, where, when, in what manner, and to what extent something is done or happens. There are some examples of the use of adverbs, such as she always arrives early, he drives carefully, they go everywhere together, and she eats slowly. Well, the next material is the function of adverbs. There are 4 functions of adverbs in general. The first is to inform a condition, location, time, degree, and certainly, and etc. Second, to modify or describes a verb, an adjective, another adverb, or even a whole sentences. The third is to change the meaning of determiners, prepositional phrase, and sentences. And the last is give an additional information for predicative expressions. Well, and the next material is kinds of adverbs. There are 5 kinds of adverbs. First is adverbs of manner. Adverbs of manner is adverbs that express the way or how something is done. Adverbs of manner are most often used with action verbs. Adverbs of manner can be placed at the end of the sentences, before or after the verbs. Some adverbs of manner, such as automatically, calmly, carefully, clearly, and etc. That's some common adverbs of manner. For example, he won the tennis match effortlessly. She slowly opened the present. And the second kind of adverbs is adverbs of place. Adverbs of place tells us where something happens. Some example of adverbs of place, such as across, over, under, in, out, through, backward, there, around, here, sideways, upstairs, downstairs, in the field, in that place, and etc. These tend to pop up after the main verbs or direct object of the sentence. For example, I went through the jungle. He plays in the field. She found the box outside. Well, the third kind of adverbs is adverbs of time. Adverbs of time tells us when something is happened, such as yesterday, 2 days ago, the day after, 3 weeks ago, tomorrow, last year, 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. and etc. We usually see these kinds of adverbs placed at the beginning or the end of the sentence. The example of adverbs of time, such as we will let you know our decision next week. I flew to LA 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, I received a letter from my best friend. Next kind of adverbs is adverbs of degree. Adverbs of degree is adverbs that express the importance or degree or level of the action in the sentence. In other words, they describe how much or to what degree. They can be categorized as low degree, example somewhat, medium degree, example is fairly, and high degree, example extremely. Completely, nearly, entirely, less, midly, most, to, very, and much, and etc. are common adverbs of degree. For the example, they like playing golf a lot. She sang wonderfully well. She gripped my hand too tight. The water was extremely cold. Well, the next kinds is adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency are used to express how often something is occurs. These adverbs tend to appear right before the main verbs in the sentence. Always, never, normally, rarely, seldom, sometimes, usually, monthly, daily, and etc. are common adverbs of frequency. There are some examples of the use of frequency adverbs, such as I will always love you, Tom is never late for work, Saint keeps changing his car monthly. Well, the next material is forming adverb from adjectives. In most cases, an adverb is formed by adding ly to an adjective. For example, cheap to cheaply and quick to quickly. And the second forming is if the adjectives ends in y, replace the y with I and add ly. For example, easy to easily, happy to happily. And the third forming is if the adjectives ends in able or le, replace them with e with y. For example, basic to basically, tragic to tragically, economic to economically. Some adverbs have the same form as an adjective, such as early, fast, hard, high, late, near, straight, and wrong. For example, it is a fast car. He drives very fast. This is a hard exercise. He works hard. He saw many high buildings. The bird flew high in the sky. And here we also provide you with some other examples of forming adverbs from the adjectives. Well, so that's all about the explanation of adverbs, and we will go back to the first presenter.
Alright, so I think that's all about our material. So we already provide with the exercise. Maybe you can try to answer the exercise, and then after you finish, you can comment in below. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching our videos. Bye bye.